I am I'm doing well, Artie. Thanks for asking. I'm doing well. You're in Costa Rica. Oh wow, Alicia on a missions trip to sign off early, but I'm here. That is awesome. Oh my gosh, that's one of my dreams. I want to go on a mission trip as well. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. And Kara, she's on vacation. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. We'll definitely record. Laurencia's doing well. Artie's doing good. I'm good. And Alicia's in Costa Rica. And Amanda, she emailed she won't be able to join us on tonight. So we have everybody here and accounted for. Tonight is our final session. The content tonight, let me go ahead and do our let me make this announcement first. Dr. Sellers Educate is approved as a provider of nursing continuing professional development by the North Carolina Nurses Association, an accredited approver by the American Nurses Credentialing Centers Commission on Accreditation. To receive credit hours, you are required to stay for the entire program or watch the full recording and complete the evaluation. Okay, so everyone make sure after tonight's session, you will receive the survey, and we do welcome your responses. Any way that we can improve the CHSE prep course is always welcome as well. Please feel free to email me any things that you think that I could do personally to improve as well as we continue to move forward and help others prepare for the CHSE, identify any content gaps and have them prepare so that they can successfully take the CHSE and pass it as well on the first time. We really are really excited about your time of testing. I do ask that you email me and let me know when you're going to test. Sometimes people like to share. Sometimes they like to just go ahead because they don't want anyone to bother them, and I respect that as well. But if you hopefully are planning to take it within the next month, also, if you haven't already signed up, we're going to look at some of those things in just a few minutes. We're going to go to the SSH site and just review some of the logistics of preparing for the CHSE exam. We went over them the first day of class, but we'll go back over them again tonight. So just want to make sure everybody is, thought my camera was on, but it wasn't. I was wondering why we didn't see too many. So we'll just make sure that we're going to go over some of that in just a few minutes. But before I move any further, I want to do a nice soft check-in just to see how everybody's doing. You've already answered in the chat. Alicia is actually on a mission trip. Anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to share? Any highs or lows they'd like to share with the group before we get started? Okay. Let's see. I received, okay, Alicia. Yes, she received the authorization to test. So awesome, awesome, awesome. So you keep me updated, okay? And as you get closer to the date, if you just need to just get back on a Zoom session or a phone call, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll be glad to help walk you right on through it, okay? And then I also want to celebrate with you once you're done. So please reach back out to us. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes, yes, yes. I hope this has been helpful to each one of you as we've moved through our CHSE prep. Tonight, this afternoon, we're going to go, as I said, we're going to review the CHSE exam logistics, and we'll do chapters 22 and 23, our quizzes. We will go through them. We'll have a break. And then I will give you an opportunity. I have 1 through 25. I think we'll be able to do 25 questions on tonight. So I will pause once we come back in. You'll have 25 minutes to take the test. I'll give you the opportunity to take the test, and then we'll come back after you finish taking the test. There'll be a nice little break, and then we'll come back and we will review those 25 questions. That's our plan for tonight. Okay. Did anybody go ahead and do the 25 questions, or everybody is pretty much set to take it on tonight?
Take it tonight.
Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, great, great, great. Well, that's good. Yes, okay, great, Kara. Yeah. All right, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So that'll be our plan on tonight. The two chapters that we have to finish are 12% of the CHSE plan, the CHSE exam. And those last two chapters focus on operations and management of environment, personnel, non-personnel resources. And chapter 23 looks at the accreditation of your STEM centers and the simulation standards. So the last two chapters are about 12% of that exam. And so we will go through that tonight. Let's go ahead and pull up uh, our our site. Go and pull that up. Mm, Going to the chassis. So I just wanted to go through this real brief. We're preparing to take our CHSE exam. If we go to our SSH page, homepage, a page you'll go to certification or credentialing. And once you go to credentialing, you should be able to find the CHSE. Click on CHSE Educator, and it just talks about the process. So I wanted to briefly go over that tonight. The test is a 115 item exam, multiple choice, and you have a time limit of 2 hours. It is a time test. And you submit your application. We'll just go briefly through them. Your eligibility, as we can see here, we have to have participate in simulation education, your bachelor's degree, and you at least need at least 2 years of practice inside of your CHSE in your simulation environment as part of your criterion focus. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, you can actually challenge that and send that in and actually get a waiver if the challenge is accepted. You submit your application. Make sure with your application you this is just going back over again the requirements for the application. Make sure you keep all of your professional development because you will have to upload all of that into the system. For them to review. There are some short experience narrative statements that will be in there. You'll be able to do all of that inside of the portal. Make sure you have your professional references and their emails are accurate. If there are any accommodations, make sure you note that as well. Your personal references, you could get those professional references from those that you work with right there in your facilities, in your organizations, in your programs that actually can attest to your simulation knowledge and experience as the simulation expert. And then once you get to the site, it actually will walk you through as you go from one page to the next. It will actually flow in a nice way that you'll be able to just walk right through it. They also have a guide here to help you as well with the application system. And here are your fees here for your application. You have to submit these fees if you're a member of SSH or any supporting organizations like a NASCO, ASPE, any of those other organizations. You can also get the discounted rate. For those that are not a member of SSH or other supporting organizations, the fee is $4.95. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact the certification coordinator. They're pretty responsive as well. As you prepare for the exam, that's what we're doing now. You've already had access to your blueprint. That's an additional resource there that is available on the site that has questions in it as well for a fee of $89. It will actually come over to your email as a soft copy, and you can actually go through that. It's a pretty good resource as well. The practice exam, you have access to that for $75. Once you complete your application, you can actually access that on the SSH website. inside of the CHSE portal. And what that exam will do, it actually gives you an opportunity to see questions as they will actually be set up on the portal, on the SMT portal for testing. I did find that pretty helpful. It just kind of gives you a nice little dry run to go through that testing for $75. And you'll have up to 30 days to take it. About the practice exam, that's what they're talking about here. Then there's some other resources here as well that you have access to. And we've talked about the simulation dictionary. I did do a nice little soft list for you. And please make sure you go back through your dictionary. If there's words that you just don't quite understand or know, I would still go through that dictionary and do a nice soft refresher so that you make sure you're able to know those words just in case, a word is on your exam that you didn't quite, so that you'll know the words that are listed on your exam. Recognition, you will know the testing site that I went to. I knew on the day, once you finish your exam, you will know if you were successful. So that's a good thing too. You will get a nice email as well and your nice certificate letting you know your credentialing, and you'll be able to use that after your name once you get everything verified in the mail. And I'm excited for each one of you. Very, very excited. And your renewal, you will renew. It's good for 3 years, and those 3 years will go by so fast. They will go by fast. But one thing I want to encourage you is to keep that Excel spreadsheet up, or however you complete, keeping a record of your continuing professional development activities. Make sure you do that, or create a folder. Make sure you always get your certificates that have the CEUs listed, and make sure also you put a little brief description or keep the flyer, because whenever you get ready to renew, you'll have to put that information back in there. And if you already have a spreadsheet, it won't be hard for you to have to go all the way back over those last 3 years to pull everything together. And that will be very, very helpful for you. Okay. The renewal process is almost similar to whenever you submit for the application to test. It's almost the same process. Okay. The certification is renewal is $350 for SSH members and $450 for all others. Now, if you let it lapse, you'll have to take that test again. And some opt to do the test, but you can actually just turn in your continuing professional development and meet those requirements as well. Okay. All righty. So let's go ahead. Any questions? Well, if you're ready, I'm ready. We'll go ahead and get started with chapter 22. And we will put our answers in our chat box just like we've been doing our previous sessions. So we are actually on these sections, these chapter questions tonight. They will be a lot of just straightforward questions as we get to talking about resources and how to manage resources, personnel, et cetera, et cetera. Again, you're looking at not so much as being able to define, but being able to notice it as it is applied into practice. So let's look at our first one on page 395. On page 395. Everybody ready? Thumbs up or thumbs down in your emojis? Everybody ready? All right, I see one thumbs up. Okay, great. All right, thank you, Artie. Thank you, Kara. All right. Okay. All right. The first one says, when managing supplies and equipment, it is critical to A, use the same equipment and supplies as utilized in your local hospitals and clinics, or B, track equipment repairs and warranty and service agreement information. C, set up a cooperative with local Simulation center so you can share equipment and supplies. D, order capital equipment at the end of the budget cycle. Correct. Your answer is B. Who would like to tell me why you chose B? And didn't choose any of the others, especially D. Talk to me about that. Someone want to unmute your mic or you want to put it in the chat? What caused you to choose answer B? It is correct. Remember, we can get the answer right, but we need to be able to tell why that answer is correct. Anybody want to chime in? Exactly. The end of the budget cycle is too long and it's the wrong time. It's the wrong time. You'd rather do at the start of the budget cycle. Guess what? At the beginning is when there's more money to you available. So why go at the end? Correct. That's why D is incorrect. That's correct. And B and U, A, it says use the same equipment and supplies as utilized in your hospitals and clinics when managing supplies. It's not critical to do that, right? You can get simulated supplies and simulated, you can get things that are not used in the hospital, or you can. So it's not critical that you do that. In the question, it says it is critical. And it's not critical to set up a cooperative with local SIM centers so that you can share equipment and supplies. That's not critical either. But what is critical is that you track those repairs, right? And that you make sure that you check those warranties and those service agreements. Now that is critical to the maintenance of your SIM center, supplies, equipment, and personnel. So that's why B stands out. Let's look at our book's rationale. It says setting up a system for tracking equipment repairs. Yes, management and maintenance. You're correct. It's critical to do that because you got to keep looking at those warranties. And if you're not careful, those warranties will sneak up on you. So you have to have a system so that you're able to look at when those warranties coming in from the start, making sure you have monies that will sustain your equipment and not be so quick to order equipment up ahead of time that you're not considering the sustainability of it by incorporating the warranties, the expense for warranties into your grants or your funding source. So setting up a system for tracking equipment repairs and service information is critical to understanding and managing operational costs. What is it going to cost for those preventive maintenance? Um, is it included? Is it for the next 3 years? Will we have to renew in the 6 year, et cetera, et cetera? Using the same equipment and supplies as those utilized in the local hospitals and clinics is good for the learner as this might help them with familiarity, but it is not critical. Critically important. Set up a cooperative with other SIM centers may be helpful, but not essential to the running of a SIM center. Capital equipment is very costly and is usually best to order where? At the beginning of the budget cycle and not wait till the end. At the beginning where you have more money. Thank you so much. Those are the kind of things as a management, when you're looking at it, they're going to be making sure you're able to think as from the management side and what are those things we should do as simulation leaders in our facilities. A mission statement. A mission statement is a statement of global plans and goals. B, the roadmap of a simulation center. C, the purpose of the existence of the center, or D, a comprehensive 3 to 5 year plan. What is a mission statement? C is correct. The purpose for the existence of the center. That just stood out, right? That stood out. A mission statement describes the purpose of the center. Statement of global plans and goals is the vision statement. The roadmap is known as a business plan, and a comprehensive 3 to 5 is more like a strategic plan. just being able to differentiate between which plan, what is the statement, mission, and which plans you, what is the mission, statement, the vision, what are your organizational strategic plans, and what are those what's the difference between a business plan and a strategic plan. As a manager of that sim center, we should understand because we're the ones that's going to be writing those in alignment with our organization. And we can have our team members come as well. But when you go towards getting your centers set up and setting your centers up, you want to make sure you have that mission statement, that vision statement that is in line with the overarching institution that you're in. And you'll be the one as that simulation expert writing those statements up. Number three, recommended policies and procedures for a simulation center. Okay, what type of policies and procedures should we have? A, mission, vision, and value statements. B, collection of prepackaged scenarios with debrief guide and checklist. Video retention, archiving, and access guidelines. Income and suspense reports and marketing plans. Correct. Our answer is C. When I look at A, B, C, and D, it's asking recommended policies. Mission, vision, and value statements are not policies. What is required in a simulation center? Policies for video retention. How long are you going to keep those videos? And what are those videos going to be used for? Academic use over the next 5 years, or as long as you are in the program, and as you matriculate, we'll keep it 1 year after. It's important to have policies that talk to that and speak to that, the logistics of how you're going to be recording and processing and storing and deleting video footage within your facility, the timelines, and everybody should be aware of that. Making sure, telling them how you're going to archive, that goes along also in that same policy. How is it going to be stored? How is it going to be used? And also, how will things be accessed? How do you ask to access your recordings? How do you access, even when you go down to, we have policies, even how we do our pre-briefing. We have policies on how we do our facilitation, our debriefing. So those policies are very critical as a manager and a leader in your sim center. The collection of prepackaged scenarios with debrief guide and checklist, you don't have a policy for that. Well, the debrief checklist is probably embedded inside of your debriefing policy. But the choices there is C, income and expense reports and marketing plan. That's not part of, no, you don't need a policy for that. Number three, how to retain and store materials that are vital to the history and the function of the SIM Center should be guided by what? Policy and procedures. A collection of pre-practice scenarios with debrief guide and checklists are considered teaching resources, not policies and procedures. Mission, vision, and value statements are usually part of the business plan. There may be policies, procedure regarding the format, content, and frequency of income and expense reports and marketing plans, but the actual reports are all outside of policies and procedures. Great job. Number four, depreciation. Depreciation is A, the part of a budget that refers to capital equipment. B, the sudden loss in value of a piece of equipment. C, the calculated loss of value based on the projected lifetime. D, used to represent supply inventory and losses. Mhm. C is correct. Yep, C is correct. C is correct. It's used in it's used in
I have a class.
accounting. Huh?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I thought someone was saying something. Depreciation is used in accounting to help describe the impact of wear and tear and loss of value of your assets, such as your pieces of equipment, your simulators, etc. Over time, capital equipment is usually set up on a depreciation scale where the initial purchase price and expected lifetime of the assets are used to decrease and value of the equipment over time. Capital equipment is commonly depreciated and is commonly a line item in a budget. However, depreciation is not a part of the budget that refers to capital equipment. Depreciation refers to a planned and calculated loss of value, not a sudden loss. Depreciation is used for durable equipment, not consumable supplies and inventory losses. Depreciation should be considered when we as managers are ordering our big ticket items inside of our centers. The sudden loss in value of the piece of equipment. 5, purchase and an extended warranty on high fidelity human patient simulators, an example of A, risk transference, B, risk acceptance, B, risk and mitigation, or D, a positive risk. Correct. We have a lot of knowledge base. Yep, it's A. The answer is A, risk transference. High cost, the risk of high cost of repairing and replacing the HPS is transferred to the company that offered the extended warranty on the HPS. Risk acceptance would be accepting the risk and not doing any interventions, not purchasing an extended warranty and accepting the HPS as the company offers it. An example of mitigating risk might include doing extensive testing on the HPS to identify any weaknesses. Yes, warranty coverage. Exactly. Warranty, covering that simulator, covering that piece of equipment, covering it in case something breaks down. That's critical so that the cost is not on you or your facility, it's on the company to fix. Mitigating risk might include doing extensive testing on the HPS to identify any weaknesses and to try and detect any issues in the HPS prior to expiration of the initial warranty. A positive risk might be an influx of new clients because your center purchased a new HPS. That's a prime example with these new HPSs or these new simulators with the AI embedded in it. A lot of people, it's drawing a lot of people's attention. That would be a positive risk. But we're looking at warranty. Again, you may not see it just as a knowledge question, but you may see it mapped out as what would you do or what would you need to do as a simulation leader? What are some of the things you need to be thinking about with your purchases? Okay. Number 6, the stakeholder asks the simulation educator how to make the simulation real. What should the simulation educator tell them is the most important to increasing realism and learner engagement in a simulation? A, inclusion of an actor, SP, and confederates in the scenario. B, willingness of the learner to engage in the learning process. C, realistic smells, sounds, and images within the simulation center. D, high fidelity human patient simulators with voice modulators. I'd like to hear some discussion over this one. Correct. The answer is B. Would someone be willing to share why did you choose B and not A? Why did B stand out? What made B the correct answer? You can either unmute your mic or you can write in the chat box for me, please.
Is the friction contract or the make-believe? If the students accepting that, if they have the acceptance, that this process is a process they want to learn something. So during the pre-briefing, remember the facilitator kind of talked to the students about it, about accepting the situation as if it's real for them to be able to learn. So the degree of that acceptance will eventually affect we improve their engagement in that activity. But even if we have the realism, everything is correct, and they don't have that willingness or that desire to participate in that scenario.
It won't be effective, right? If they don't have the willingness. So
Yeah.
correct. Awesome. Thank you. Wonderfully said. And Alicia, you're correct. Part of the learner contract to agree to suspend reality to some extent. And Dr. K, you're correct. Adult learners. And this happens, as Lorenzi was saying, at the beginning of your simulation in the pre-briefing phase, that we make sure in creating that psychological and safe environment that we're also going over that fiction contract to suspend, disbelief and increase realism, or increase their ability to see and feel and think and learn. But their willingness to do that makes that very, very important. We do that in our pre-briefing. And that's one of our NASCO standards, making sure that we go over that fiction contract and dismiss or disband um, um, disbelief, right? So having you remember we talked about SPs, and SPs do increase realism and Confederates, but if you don't get them to disband disbelief, right, they still may not engage well. So this is most important, increasing realism, and that is something we do in our pre-briefing phase with our students, and creating that psychological safe environment. We make sure we go over that fiction contract. We make sure we have them gain buy-in to believe, right? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Like that was very good, very good. Confederate smells, sounds, images, and high fidelity simulators are all very beneficial, but unless the learner is willing to suspend disbelief, these other environmental enhancements will be of limited benefit. Great, great, great. That was good picking it up about that fiction contract and um, suspending disbelief. 7, when setting up the room for a scenario, the simulation educator noticed a piece of equipment is not working correctly. Select the item with the best sequence for troubleshooting and correcting this problem. Okay. A, call the sales representative or manufacturer helpline. Ensure the device is plugged in, charged. Refer to the owner's manual for troubleshooting. Shut down the device and start it back up again. B, refer to the owner's manual for troubleshooting. Check to see whether the device is plugged in, charged, and ensure all cable connections are secure. Shut down the device and start it back up again, and call the sales rep or manufacturer helpline. C, ensure all connections are secure. Shut down the device and start it back up again. Refer to the owner's manual for troubleshooting and call the representative or manufacturer helpline. And D, shut the device down, start it back up again, ensure the device is plugged in, ensure all cable connections are secure. Refer to the owner's manual for troubleshooting and call the sales rep or manufacturer helpline. This one was a little tricky. Okay, so let's talk about this one. This one right here is a little tricky. And it's a little tricky. So let's look at it. Let's look at it. Because B and C, they look so much similar. So let's talk about this one, okay? It says B to the owner's manual for troubleshooting, check to see. But when you let's look at it. And the reference page, it is referenced in here. The reference page is Because this one is a little tricky. This is one we probably can challenge the authors about this one. Because I've had conversation about this one in every session that we've had. So we definitely know A. What Alicia said. I would say C. Yep. And that is the correct answer. I would say C because I wouldn't start with the owner's manual. I'd make sure all connections are correct first. There you go. That's why this one was coded wrong. When you go back and look at it, B says refer to the owner manual for troubleshooting. And some would probably want to start there, but your first thing is you want to like go and check the connectors, right? Go and make sure everything's plugged in because it could just be as simple that your simulator or the EKG or whatever the machine, it could have just been what? Unplugged. After you've checked all the connectors, or even on your mannequin, sometimes you just cut on, cut back off. You got to make sure, but you want to check your connectors first, just to make sure everything is what receiving the electrical system support that it needs. Your monitor go off. Was it connected? So you want to start looking at your connectors. Are all the connectors secure? If they are secure, go and shut the device down and start it back up again because sometimes rebooting can make everything better. And then after you've done those first initial things, still you're having trouble, you want to go to your owner's manual. Look in there and see what other things could be a problem. But you want to start there because it may be a quick fix with just those two things. And it won't cause you to lose time with your simulation or with whatever, wherever phase you're at. You can actually fix it really quick in doing those two things. And then
Uh,
it says call the representative or manual factory helpline. That's last because guess what? That's going to be a whole long more time added. So you're looking at your time as well, your efficiency within your sim, within the time frame that you're dealing with. But when it says when setting up the room for the scenario, so you're looking at your time as well. How would it just help you be more efficient in setup? So I'm open to hear conversation because each session we've had some nice conversation regarding this question, but we've all concluded to end to agree that C was the best choice answer. I can understand, I can see too, as well as how you would want to check the owner's manual, which you can. So this one is a little tricky. This B and C, it says B, check the owner's manual for troubleshooting. Check to see whether the device is plugged in, charged. Ensure all cable connectors are secure. Shut it down, start it back up again, and then call the sales representative.
the right one in the sense, I know it's like tricky using the word refer to the manual, right? For
Mhm.
troubleshooting. This is just like a general information, but then you have to check to see whether the device is plugged in
Yes.
or charged. It could be plugged in, but it's not charging. So when you just go by ensuring all cables are secured and then you're shutting down the mannequin, I don't think you've really make sure that, taking care of making sure that it's even charging, because you might just shut it down. But the problem is that even though it's plugged in, it's not charging.
And so then you got to go back, you got to follow your lines. Like we do line reconciliation with IVs, you follow your lines as well. Is it really connected to the mannequin? So you check all your connectors, and after you checked all your connectors, is everything plugged in where it's supposed to be?
Mhm.
If everything is plugged in where it's supposed to be, well then let me go ahead and if it's plugged in to where he should be charged, right? Because even on your chargers, most of them have like lights to let you know if they're dead or not, unless something's wrong with your charger itself. Either it may be what yellow, ours turn yellow to green, or red. Red means they're dead. So this one is a little challenging when you think about it, but the thing is you want to make sure you check those connectors. Check your connectors, troubleshoot well before you go calling your vendor, especially as the simulation expert. Because the simulation expert is going to troubleshoot on their own initially and exhaust all those areas to troubleshoot before calling for help or calling the manufacturer. That's when we're at that expert level as a simulation educator. And that's what they want to see when you answer this question, that you're thinking from that place. You want to troubleshoot. You want to do all the things you know to do that could be causing this problem before you start seeking out the help from other resources. Mhm. Okay. And the rationale supports B, as the answer. Number 8, doing a simulation, it is noted that some of the requested supplies and equipment are not in the room and available for learner use as expected. What is the best initial step to take toward addressing this issue? A, stop the simulation and ask the simulation technician why the supplies are not available. Restart the simulation once proper supplies have been obtained. B, continue the simulation with the sim tech specialist, introducing the supplies and equipment into the scenario state. These supplies have just arrived from Central Supply. Correct. Everybody's is B. Somebody, let's talk about this. Why would B be your answer? Why did you choose B? What made B the correct answer, the best? Your initial step, and why?
Um, I can't remember the word now, but
Huh?
I can't remember the word. It just like escaped my word. All I know is that the clues are within the scenario. Is it coming from outside clues, or I don't know. That's something I'm missing. Okay. Oh Lord.
So you're going on the right track. This is a situation. Anybody else before I add on? Anybody else in the chat would like to chime in? Why did you choose B? Let me hear what you're thinking. I noticed you. I'm gonna use this. I noticed you chose B. Can you please tell me what you were thinking? Did you just choose it?
Yeah. What is it called again? Oh my goodness. Scenario what?
Because this is an unexpected event, which we could take this unexpected event and utilize it as a real utilize it to educate the student. Because this happens really in practice. Instead of stopping the simulation and waiting till the supplies come, or stopping the simulation and asking the sim tech why the supplies are not there, that's not what you would do. But you take this unexpected event or unexpected situation, right? And you use it as an educational opportunity. Okay. It can still take those students to the achievement of their learning objectives. So you take an unexpected event that happens in the simulation. It's not detrimental, but now we're able to use it as an educational experience to move them forward to their objectives. It's a good way to circle back to the true reality of healthcare practices. If this happens in practice, what would you do? And you're able to role model that in that opportunity right within the simulation as the facilitator of that sim. So that's why B would be our correct answer, because you want to continue with the sim. And as the sim tech bring the supplies, you'll say, oh, SPD has brought the supplies that we need for our procedure. We will move forward. Adapt by using the prompts to achieve the learning outcome. That is so correct, Laurencia. Yes. So you will seize that moment. Sometimes unexpected events happen during simulation. Can we use that unexpected event? Yes. especially if it's going to help move them forward. Now, sometimes you may have an unexpected event that may be unsafe. If it's unsafe, you are most definitely going to stop that scenario, right? But if it's
Yes.
not unsafe, but it's still within the confines of us being able to move those students towards their objectives, you use that unexpected event and you flip it. You allow it to be embedded in the sim. You adopt it in as a learning opportunity to move the simulation forward and meet their learning outcomes, right? As it aligns to the reality of what healthcare and their healthcare and providing care would be. So let's look at the book's definition rationale. Using an outside lifesaver, and that's what Laurencia was saying, lifesaver, such as having the
I couldn't
simulation.
remember it.
Yep, use out. You were saying cues, but using
Okay,
lifesaver.
lifesaver, yes. Thank
Yes, 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 yes. Saving that sim, saving that simulation, such as having the simulation tech specialist introduce the supplies into the scenario in a somewhat realistic manner can help save that scenario progression and stay
you.
on what target with the scenario objectives. Keep your focus on the learners and the scenario objectives. Will it work? I don't know how many times I've been in Mr. Simulation and something just goes different. And in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I continue to make this sim move forward? Can we still meet our learning objective? And 9 times out of 10, we're able to do it. We use those to continue to cause that simulation to evolve. Stay focused. Stopping the simulation and asking the simulation tech why the supplies are not available and then restarting the sim. What are you going to do? Once the supplies have been obtained, you've just broken the suspense of reality that has been established and changed the focus of the simulation. Maintain realism during a simulation for best learner outcome. Stick to the scenario objectives. Complete the simulation event first and then go back and resolve the issue related to why the supplies were not there. The response to continue the simulation, observing how the learners adapt to the lack of supplies and equipment, is not correct because this would change the scenario objectives. It is best to stay with the objectives. Lastly, it is never appropriate to stop the sim and begin debriefing by explaining to the participants that this is a common occurrence, that they are the unfortunate victims of a poorly managed system center. This would be a poor response as marginalizing other team members is inappropriate. Issues of this nature should be dealt with privately and not in front of the learners. So good. So just remember, as an expert, as the simulation expert, you would, if you're able to use that unexpected event to save that scenario, simulation lifesaver, an outside lifesaver as is.
Lifesaver, yes.
Mm-hmm. Outside.
It's outside, yeah.
Yep. So what would be an example of an inside lifesaver in the midst of the sim?
Um, check,
Hmm? What about some of the things that you as a facility or the patient could say?
yeah, part of it.
Yeah, to kind of help guide those students on. He's not going to give them the answer, but the patient may say, or you as the facilitator, yeah, or the standardized patient may give some inside lifesavers or cues to
Or
try to help guide the
changing the
students towards, huh?
ch- changing the oxygen pulses
Yes,
on the
changing vital
monitor.
signs. Mm-hmm.
If they missed, listening
Mm-hmm.
to breath sounds, so you could put that just to attract, kind of.
Uh-huh. Yep. And when you do that, the patient can say, I'm short of breath, I can't breathe, you know, and hoping that, or they could start off saying that, hoping that the students are going to do what? Check the lung sounds
Yeah.
or prompt them to look at the monitor.
Mm.
And if they don't, then you might can have it drop so low that what? The monitor may start beeping.
Mhm. Yeah.
Good. Good, good, good. Number 9, during a simulation, the Wi-Fi connection to the baby human patient simulator is lost and the baby becomes unresponsive. The learners believe that the baby has gone into cardiac arrest and began CPR. As a facilitator, what is the best initial course of action? A, stop the sim and attempt to reestablish the Wi-Fi connection while you give the learners a break. B, continue the simulation and modify the scenario on the fly as the learner outcomes can be met with the evolving scenario. C, stop the sim and debrief the scenario based on the objectives the learners have met. Or D, announce to the students that the Wi-Fi connection was lost again and continue the simulation with modified objectives. Real good. Now you'll see these are nice examples of CHSE questions. Say D sounds like it would be viable too, Kara. Yeah, see, and the thing, what in D makes D wrong when we're thinking about our simulations and the goal is when they did what? What makes D the wrong answer? They announced it, and what else? They modified the objectives, right? And see, the original objectives of the simulation, you want to stick to those. So that's when I'm not sure to continue or stop based on we don't know the objectives for the scenario and what the learners experience. Well, that's true, but when you look at your options, it says what is the best initial course of action. So don't read too much in the scenario or think outside of those things, outside of what the scenario is saying, because these questions are very typical of what you see on your CHSE. Because this is when you can really get on there and don't change your objectives. Mm. So when you look at A, our goal is initially when we create that simulation, it's already created based on what? Objectives. Everything in that simulation has been set up and created, right? From start to finish to move those students toward the objectives of the simulation. So the one thing you don't want to do is modify the objectives or go away from the objectives because everything was set to get them to that objective. Am I making sense? Yes. So at all costs, you want, if there's something that happens, you want to see how you can at least save the sim, right? To get them towards that learning objectives. So A says stop the sim and attempt to reestablish the Wi-Fi connection while you give the learners a break. Well, let's keep reading because the question says, what is the best initial course of action? So we might can put a little, let's go and keep reading. I hear you, stop the sim and attempt to reestablish Wi-Fi connection while you give the learners a break. We'll see. B, continue the simulation and modify the scenario on the fly as the learning outcomes can be met within this evolving scenario. So I'm still sticking to my objectives. I can continue the simulation, right? I just may need to modify how we get to our learning objectives. Could this be an opportunity to still roll with it? If the students go and do CPR on the child, that means they are paying attention. They understand that if the child loses a pulse, we need to do CPR. So they understand that. But the one thing you won't do is let that child die. If that's not the end, right? So you would want to, they can roll with it, but in that and while they're doing it, you reestablish your connection as you can, right? And then you can modify on the fly because there's been times, guess what? Even if you can do cards, you can bring cards out and start putting vital signs up that way. if you can't electrically get in there to restart that simulator. So you can on the fly continue that sim. But the one thing you wouldn't want to happen is for that child to die, especially if that wasn't the end of the goal. And then number C, stop the sim and debrief the scenario based on the objectives the learners have met. And then D, announce to the students that the Wi-Fi connection was lost again and continue the simulation with modified object. By that time, you've lost your students too.
Mhm.
You've lost them if you do that, if you do D. And then to modify the objectives, we won't get them to the end that we originally set that simulation up for. Okay. Any other discussion about this one? This one is something like you would definitely see. And I understand you too, Artie. We don't know what the objectives are, but don't read into your questions. Don't read into the scenarios. If they don't have it there in that question, don't try to add anything to it. Because if so, it's going to cause you to choose the wrong answer. B is your best initial course of action out of all the four choices. B is the best. Continue to sim, modify how we get there to the end, and continue to move those students towards meeting their outcomes. Now, if it's unsafe, then that's a different story, but we can't read into it. It didn't say that in the question. Okay. Number 9 says if the learning objectives can be met, if the learning objectives can be met, if they can still be met, remember, we can save it. The expert simulation educator is going to they're going to go on the fly, they're going to modify, but they're going to still move those students towards the end. Because you, as the simulation expert, you already know the end, you know the outcomes. If the learning objectives can be met, then the evolving scenario is a good solution to the challenge. I want you to think from that expert way. Stopping the simulation and attempting to reestablish the Wi-Fi connection while you give the learners a break may waste valuable time and guess what? Interrupt that suspense of reality that the learners have established. Because when you bring them back in, you're gonna have to start all over again and getting them back into the reality of that sim. Stopping the sim and debriefing the scenario based on the objectives the learners have met will result in incomplete learning. Announcing to the students that the Wi-Fi connection was lost again. Lost again means it already must have lost it already in the sim. This is again. And to continue to sim with modified objectives is not desirable, and this will not meet the initial learning objectives on different levels. You modified the objectives and it's been interrupted again, so they're going to have to refocus. Okay, good. I see thumbs up. Good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good, good, good. Everybody good? This one is a good one. 10, a recently purchased high fidelity human patient simulator does not function as intended for the third time this week. Each time if this occurs, the human patient simulator is turned off and then restarted, after which it begins to work properly. What action should be taken? A, review the troubleshooting section in the HPS manual. B, report your problems and frustrations with this HPS on Facebook. C, accept the fact that this is a normal challenge when working with HPSs. Or D, call the sales reps or manufacturer customer service. Mm-hmm. Yes, 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 yes. Why? Why are we not going to go to that trouble? Why are we not going to go to the manual? Why not A? What makes D the best answer? Exactly, Alicia. Third time, 3 times in 1 week. I love it. And you've already did those things you were supposed to do. That's what makes us go to the manufacturer. Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, yes. Report this problem and work with the company for resolution. Determining that this is a normal challenge when working with HPS and not reporting the problem and only documenting it in the HPS equipment logbook are helpful for historical data but will not resolve the issue. Exactly, Artie. It's expensive and several times malfunctions. Yeah, we need to call the company. Yeah. Simply document incidents will not bring the problem toward a resolution. Reporting the problem early can help resolve this issue, although you may feel justified in reporting your problems and frustrating on Facebook. This will not resolve the issue with the HPS. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, those are some real questions there. Those, especially those last ones that we saw. The first was knowledge. You have to really see that played out in sim. But these last few, those are some typical classic ones you can see on your CHSE. They're going to have you thinking. But remember, don't read too much in it and don't put extra stuff in there and don't assume in your mind that that extra stuff is not there or it is there. Read the questions as they ask it. Ask the questions. Okay? Great, 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 great. So we're going to go to chapter 23. Uh-oh, we're going to go ahead and then we'll do our break, okay? This one won't the chapter 23 is on accreditation of the SIM. I believe we'll get through this. Everybody good? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Are we good to keep moving? Do you need a break? I could give you a break if you like, or would you like to go forward? I just need to know how you. So we good to keep going forward? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. We're on page 411. We're going to go ahead. Question one. This is looking at resources, simulation accreditation, sim lab and sim standards. Going back to our NASCO standards. One, which statement is true about the standard pre-briefing, our NASCO standards? Preparation and briefing. A, the standard sole purpose is to obtain ultimate learning outcomes while performing interprofessional simulation experiences. B, this standard describes facilitation methods and presents the key qualities of effective facilitator. C, this standard emphasizes that all simulation-based education programs require systems and infrastructure to support and maintain operations. D, this standard should be developed according to the purpose and learning objectives of the simulation-based experience. Everybody good? You need a little bit more time with this question? I see one answer in the chat. Okay. Okay. Take your time. Sorry. My apologies. Correct. The answer is D. Pre-briefing, briefing, preparation, that first standard. That's your NASCO standards. Let's look at it and talk about it. D is the correct answer. This standard should be developed according to the purpose and learning objectives of the simulation-based experience. Let's look at why A. As standard's sole purpose, it is started, long dialogue, and answer, guys. It says A, this standard's sole purpose is to obtain ultimate learning outcomes while performing interprofessional simulation experiences. That part right there makes that answer incorrect, right?
Mhm.
The sole purpose, it's saying the sole purpose. Yeah, we want to do the learning outcomes, but guess what? While performing IP sims, that makes that incorrect, the latter part. B, the standard describes facilitation methods and presents the key qualities of an effective facilitator. That's not pre-briefing, right? We do talk about, but that's not true to pre-briefing, the standard of pre-briefing, right? And see, the standard emphasizes that all simulation-based education programs require systems and infrastructures to support and make. Nope, that is not pre-briefing. That's your operation standard, right?
Yes.
That's the operation standard, number C. And B is the facilitation standard, right?
Yes.
And D, it says this standard should be developed according to the purpose and learning outcomes of the simulation based experience. Ding, ding, ding. There it is. Pre briefing, preparation, and briefing. You're looking at your needs assessment. You're looking at your objectives. You're looking at the participants. Who are your participants? What are the level of learning for the participants? From that, you're gonna choose. You're gonna look at what type of modality you're gonna use. Where are we gonna have it? Inside too, or in our inside of our sim centers, et cetera, et cetera. What type of simulation are you going to use? High fidelity, mid, low. You're going to use your SPs, or you're going to use your task trainers. All of that is done in your pre-briefing, preparation, and briefing. You're going to set the stage for your simulation, right? For your learners, looking at your contracts, developing that psychological safety, right? Going over your scheduling, your timing of your sim. Going to tell them the whole agenda from start to schedule, from start to finish, letting them know what type of debriefing technique you're going to be using, and even maybe give some examples on what that looked like. Introduce them to any type of new things that may be in that sim, making sure they understand their pre-work and that those students are the psychological safe scene is set and they are ready to do that simulation. Okay?
Confidential.
Huh?
Confidentiality too.
Yep, the confidentiality, the fiction contract, and also a tour of the area, the room that they're going to be going into. You want to give them a nice little review of that because you want to make sure those students are set up for success, set up for learning, right? Set up for learning. So when you look at your rationale, pre-briefing should be developed according to the learning outcomes. The simulation educator should have competency in pre-briefing, and the pre-brief should be at the correct level. Learning outcomes are not the sole purpose of pre-briefing, and facilitator effectiveness is not being judged. Pre-briefing does not include infrastructure. Okay, those are your other standards. Okay. B and C are the standards. Two, the blank prepares activities and pre-briefings prior to simulation-based experiences. It also delivers cues aimed to assist participants in achieving outcomes. The blank prepares. A, project manager, D, director, sim ops, C, facilitator, or D, information technologist. Correct. It is your facilitator. Your simulation facilitator is the one that's going to prepare those activities. Your project manager, director of sim ops, and your information technology are not the ones that's going to prepare those activities. The facilitator prepares the activities and pre-briefing to assist the students in achieving the learning outcomes. Project managers, directors have a larger role of overseeing what the overall functionality of that simulation center. While information technologies, they assist with the computerization of the sim lab itself. 3, a simulation educator is developing a self-study report for accreditation process and is describing a simulation as the goals and responsibilities of a rapid response team. This should be integrated in which of the following standards? Right, we're looking at our different standards. Standard A, we're looking at which standard should it be incorporated in? A, evaluation of the learning and performance. B, the debriefing process. C, facilitation, or D, outcomes and objectives. Correct. The answer is D. The answer is D. The answer is D. It's outcomes and objectives. We're talking about the goals and responsibilities of the rapid response, describing the simulation, okay? Exactly. That should be integrated in the objective and outcomes. D. Outcomes and objectives include defining the goals and outcomes of simulation scenario as they are being planned. Evaluation of learners is formative and summative evaluation methods. Debriefing is the reflective learning that takes place after the simulation experience, while facilitation has to do with program outcomes. Number 4, inner semester competency checkoffs uses a SP. Using an SP, standardized patient, is an example of what type of assessment? A, formative. B, summative. C, self. D, midterm. B. What makes it B? What makes this a summative type of assessment? End of semester. That's right, Artie. Thank you so much. And formative, we're forming learning as we go, providing feedback, student correct behavior, provide feedback, correct, then we test. Exactly. At the end of the semester. Exactly. Now let's see. And that's exactly what the rationale says. Summative evaluation is the final grade of an experience or course. Formative evaluation is done as the learner experiences some competence, so competency can improve. This is also true for midterm or midpoint assessment. Self-assessment is a reflective process that promotes self-improvement. Number 5, which standard emphasizes the need for a gap analysis assessment as well as encourages the continuous learning development of the simulus? A, outcome and objectives. B, the debriefing process. C, professional development. D, facilitation. Correct. Looking at gaps in our own gaps and professional development. Right. What do we need to keep doing to get better as simulation experts, simulation educators? Sim educators need continuous professional development to keep up to date on methodologies and theories. Professional development also identifies gap analysis for us in order to enact process improvement. The simulus should already understand how to develop outcomes and objectives and how to debrief after scenario. Facilitation is the type of teaching that is promoted in the simulation lab and is also part of the simulation's job description. Number 6, a key ingredient for a successful accreditation process is to have A, a simulation educator, B, accreditation liaisons, C, consultants, D, project manager. A is correct. A, that sim educator is the one that's key to accreditation process. They want to see that you have an expert that is certified running your programs. That is so correct. Sim educator who is certified in the simulation understands the accreditation process and expectations that are needed. Consultant, liaison, and manager are not necessary to ensure a good accreditation outcome. The sim educator is the key person that you need. Number 7, a simulation educator is developing a self-study report for accreditation and includes a section on personal qualifications. This information should be included in which one of the standards? Professional integrity, debriefing process, simulation design, or facilitation? D is correct. D is correct. Facilitation is looking at that facilitator and they're looking at the qualifications of that facilitator. You want your facilitator to be what? Trained in simulation pedagogy, all the simulation knowledge of how to flow that simulation, how to ask the right questions. So, all of the things related to their qualifications that is included in the standard on facilitation. Facilitation includes professional qualifications and continuing professional improvement. Professional integrity has to do with what? Ethics. Ethics. Was it ethical? Ethical practices. The debriefing process and simulation design have to do with the development of the scenario and reflective learning. All simulation specialists should be educating students with a facilitation methodology. Number 8, during the accreditation application process, the applicant needs consultation about learning domains. The most appropriate organization to contact is A, SSH, B, NASCO, C, National Board of Nursing, or D, NLN, the National League for Nursing. A, exactly. SSH is the ones that can tell us about the accreditation of simulation programs. A NASCO and in on the Board of Nursing and an NLN are not accrediting bodies. 9, the best practice is a method that has been generally accepted as superior to any alternatives because it produces results that are supported by research. Which standard incorporates the best practice for adult learning? A, debriefing process, B, outcomes and objectives, C, facilitation, or D, simulation design. C is correct. That's facilitation. When we're looking at those practices, how are we going to facilitate that sim? That right, yeah, it is in the facilitation. It's the best simulation teaching practice and makes the learning practice as rich as possible and meets the student learning outcomes. The debriefing process is important, but facilitation is also used in debriefing. Outcomes and objectives are made prior to the teaching process, as is the simulation design. And our last one, the duration of a SIM Center's accreditation is for how long? A, 1 year, B, 3 years, C, 5 years, D, 8 years. Correct. It is 5. 5 years. With annual reports. Accreditation does not last 1, 3, or 8 years in simulation. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I tell you, this last chapter, even though it's 12%, NASCO standards are threaded throughout. They're very heavy in the last section we did that was 40% educational principles. So I really encourage you to read those articles in a NASCO that we've put inside your folders and make sure you understand each one of those standards and how they're mapped out. This was a good taste of how it would look as well when you're looking at the different um the different um the different types of things that they're looking for or the different parts of the standard of facilitation debriefing. So I'd strongly encourage you to go back and read those articles, highlight, and yeah. And we'll get to some of those too at the end. I hope some of them will be in your first 25 questions, but if not, you'll definitely see them threaded in the remaining 75 questions at the end of our book tonight. So we're going to go ahead and take our first 15-minute break. And we will be back in 15 minutes. And when you come back, we'll go ahead and start our exam, okay? All righty. Enjoy. Okay, we are back. Everybody had a good break. We're back. Thumbs up if you're back and ready to roll. It's 7:42. So we want to go ahead. Everybody back? Okay, good. I see Miss Laurencia's back. Artie and Dr. K. Dr. Carol, you're back? Awesome. Mhm. Dr. Carol, she's on vacation, so I don't know. She may have a disconnect in her signal. Okay. Dr. Carol, if you're there, thumbs up. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started, okay? So what I'll do is 7:42. So we have 25 questions. I will give you 25 minutes, okay? I'll go, let's see, 7:42. Yeah. We may only do 20 because I need to give us time to get through the questions. So just do 1 through 20 on tonight, okay? So that'll give us about 20 minutes, and then we should have at least a nice soft 20-25 minutes to go through the questions. So everybody do questions 1 through 20, and I'll go ahead and start the timer now. Okay. Time is up, ladies. Everybody done? Maybe Kara lost connectivity. So it's Laurencia and Artie. We're gonna go ahead and move forward. Great, Artie, you done? Laurencia, you done?
Yes.
All right, great, great, great. So we will go ahead. We will go ahead and get started. It's 8:04. So we will go ahead and get started with our questions. Okay. So you can still put your answers in the chat box. So we will answer our questions. If there's anyone that you need me to pause and give a little bit more conversation on, please raise your hand or stop me. Okay. All right. You ready? Let's go. Number one on page 417. What is the best simulation modality to promote changes in learner behavior in the affective domain? A, simulated patients. B, part task trainers. C, high fidelity mannequins. D, virtual reality. A, correct. And everybody understand why. Simulated patients will provide that learning. You know, SP is the highest level of fidelity, but if we're looking for a modality that's going to facilitate the affective domain, guess what? You need your SPs because your human patient simulators, your task trainers, your high fidelity mannequins, your virtual reality, they will not give that affective, that emotional, that human touch like an SP will. So that's why A is correct. As simulated patients will provide the learner with a human that can assist them with reflecting on how they made a patient feel during their interactions. Part task trainers, high fidelity mannequins, VR cannot replace humanists for affective learning. Number two, when considering psychological fidelity, what is the most important to consider? A, certified SIM educators. B, learner-centric approaches. C, learning outcomes to guide the simulation. Or D, high fidelity simulators. C is correct. Learning outcomes. You remember that's our thing there. That drives our simulation. Hands down, learning outcomes drive the simulation. And it is the most important thing to consider, right? When we're looking at that fidelity, when we're looking at what we're aiming at, what type of fidelity? The learning outcomes drive that type of fidelity, right? And we do that where in our initial standard, in that initial standard of planning, when we're looking at our needs assessment, looking at our population of participants, those learning outcomes going to drive the fidelity that needs to be used in your sim. So good. Having a planned simulation learning experience with learning outcomes to guide the simulation is important and maintains what? Psychological fidelity. Learner-centric approaches are also important, but do not generate the scenario or the learning activity will be psychological sound for all learners. Neither does having a certified simulation educator or high fidelity simulator, those learning outcomes. Number three, what simulated participant attributes need to be considered for realism? A, hair and color, skin color. B, ethnicity and educational level. C, race and articulation. Or D, age and gender. Correct. D. Why? Anybody want to chime in? Why? Would age and gender trump any of the other three choices when we're thinking about realism? What makes age and gender the correct answer out of your other three choices when it comes to realism? If that patient, what if what you're using looks to be 5-year-old, a 5-year-old, and it's a female that you're talking about, that's going to make that scenario that much realer. If you put a 16-year-old or an older adult in that pediatric simulation, that would decrease realism for that pediatric sim. In a pediatric sim, you need a pediatric patient that is the appropriate age, right? That will be more real to the participants than putting a older adult in a pediatric sim, an older adult simulator, or an older adult SP. Okay. So age and gender, hair and skin color will not always, I mean, it can increase realism, but that's not the one that would be most the attributes of the participant that is your the most that's more highly related or induces or promotes realism is the age and gender. Remember the pediatric scenario. You would not have a pediatric simulation and put an older adult simulator in that room to be the pediatric patient. And if it's going to be a female scenario, you would want that simulator to be a female as well.
Yep.
4, the new simulation educator needs a better understanding of simulation techniques when they state that according to the NLN, Jeffrey's simulation theory, the following component of simulation is important. A, educational strategies, B, participants, C, simulation experiences, or D, specific pre-brief times. Exactly. Remember, we don't have any. Yeah, they need the follow. They need, which is the simulation educator needs better understanding because you do need educational strategies. She does talk about participants. It addresses the participants and it addresses the simulation experiences. But specific pre-brief and debrief should not have specific or strict times. You do want to be mindful of them, but remember best practices. Each group of participants may have different learning needs. There needs to be an experienced educational strategy in participants or learners. 5, a simulation educator would like to investigate Kirkpatrick's level of evaluation and would like to focus on the levels that need more evidence. Therefore, the simulation researcher should choose to study level 1 and level 2, or level a B, level 2 and level 3, or C, level 3 and level 4, or D, level 4 and level 1. Correct. C. You remember that's where we have some research. We need more research in the area of level 4. Level 1, what is where we get that reaction? How did this simulation make you feel? How are you feeling right now? You remember the next level 2 is what did you learn? Level 3 is what behaviors are they going to change when they go out to the clinical the next day or the next week based on that simulation. And 4 is patient outcomes. So it's saying the researcher would like to investigate evaluation. So the levels that were on the levels that need more evidence, and that's that 3rd and 4th level. Okay, the best combination. It definitely wouldn't be level 4 or level 1. So when you look at your rationale, how simulation changes behavior and produces results that benefit quality patient care are areas still in need of additional evidence. There are studies about learning and reaction in the literature. So make sure you understand Kirkpatrick's theory and how it plays out when we're looking at our learners and when we're looking at the outcomes of the simulation. Good job. Let's go to number 6. Number 6 says the simulation educator understands education and learning in simulation when they state using a simulation video in what manner? A, show the entire video without comments. B, bookmark while videotaping and show critical points. C, bookmark while videotaping and just show negative points. D, send the video to participants to watch on their own time. Correct. Your answer is B. And that's best practice for us as simulation educators when we're doing videos. When you are doing your video recording, you can actually bookmark along the way. And you don't just bookmark without comments, you bookmark and add the comments so that you're able to use those comments to provide that feedback to your students during debriefing. C, bookmark while videotaping and just show. No, you want to bookmark, but you don't just want to show negative. You want to show some positive as well, behaviors that you noted from the student during their simulation. Because remember, you're going to take that video debriefing and allow them to look at their behavior, to review it. And you would want them to see the good points and those points that they need to have some changes in their behavior. And D, send the video to participants to watch on their own time. Best video debriefing. We're going to debrief with that video. We need to be there to help guide them through that debriefing process, right? Sending it to them without any context or any feedback probably wouldn't be as useful. And then you're going to tell them to do it anytime. No, you do it at a briefing. You want to go ahead and do that after you do your simulation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, showing the videos important or critical points, both positive and negative, and more effective than showing the entire video. Just showing negative implementations or letting learners watch the video on their own, not as effective. Number 7, the novice simulation educator needs a better understanding of simulation research efforts when they state a gold standard for debriefing processes is needed. Learner satisfaction with simulation pedagogy is understudied. C, the impact of participants' race on simulation outcomes is understudied. D, we need to know more about the effectiveness of virtual and screen-based learning. Correct. It is B. Correct. It's B. It's B. We do need learner satisfaction with simulation pedagogy is understudied. No, it's not. It has been studied. So if educators say that, that means they don't really know the whole. They don't understand. They don't know what's out there with simulation research. So that's what makes that one not correct. A gold standard A, that is true, and C is true, and D is true when it comes to simulation research. Number 8, from the National Survey, what is the ratio clinical to simulation time? Correct. C, 1 to 2. 1 hour sim equals 2 hours of patient direct care. Okay. 1 hour sim equals 2 hours of patient direct care. Okay. And let's look at number 9. The simulation educator did a literature search and found that most published data pertain to which level of, here we go again, Kirkpatrick's level of evaluation. So you got to know Kirkpatrick. Was it A, level 1 reaction, level 2 learning, level 3 behavior, or level 4 results? Correct. We have most information regarding that and least information or least, research data on level 4 results. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yep. The most researched is reaction, which has to do with the learner's perception of the simulation experience. We have a lot of information out there. The second most area are learning and behavior changes. More research is needed about the long-term outcomes. That's level 4. Good job. Number 10, a novice simulation educator needs better understanding of simulation learning when they indicate that they plan to use which of the following modalities for a mental health simulation. All right, ladies. A, virtual game, B, high fidelity simulator, C, part task trainer, or A simulated patient. Exactly. C, a part task trainer will not give them what they need if we're doing a mental health simulation, right? A virtual game, that's good. We can have some role play. You can have that person in the virtual game actually cry. They can ask questions. You can do interviewing for mental health. So you can get that with a mental health, a virtual sim. High fidelity simulator, you can have them respond back as you do the facilitating of the voice. And now they have simulators that can actually cry. So that simulator could even give you, so yes, we can use that. Part task trainer, you won't get it with that, but a simulator patient, of course, we know that's the highest simulation modality. Yes. So the answer is C. Part task trainers are probably the least effective modality to use for which domain? Affective domain. Part task trainers are awesome for which level? Psychomotor. Yes, skills. Yes. But when you come to that affective domain, task trainers will not be your best choice or the most effective. A better choice may be a simulated patient so they could display the mental health issue. Yes. High fidelity may be used if the controller can use audio, but it is still not as effective as a what? A SP, a standardized patient who can demonstrate those emotions. Virtual gaming will also lack the emotion needed. Okay. All right. All right. Where are we? I'm rolling. Number 11, the novice simulation educator needs further education when they state a debriefing framework is A, debriefing with good judgment, B, preview advocacy inquiry, C, inquiry, C, debriefing for meaningful learning, or D, plus delta. C is correct. That one is a little challenging as well. We had a lot of conversation with that one right there. So I'm inclined, I agree. It was hard. It was hard. And I had to do some extra research on this one. And actually, they said the answer is C. But debriefing for meaningful learning is not actually a debriefing framework. That's what this says. It is. You're exactly right, Artie. So this one is not a good question in our book. So we would throw this one out. But the thing is here, I'm sorry, somebody was getting ready to say something.
No, I'm saying you are right, because some people still use that as a debriefing.
Yes.
Yes,
you're right, because you have to be trained in it, right? And inside of that debriefing with meaningful learning, with good judgment, there is some advocacy embedded in there. But if you go and if you put in your Google search, PAL, PAAIL, that is a debriefing model that is out there. So B, preview advocacy inquiry is use of advocacy inquiry in a conversational strategy. So if you go and look up that PAAA PAL, that is a framework as well. So just kind of brief and just review that, but your most popular, the ones that you see the most and that I can hands down believe would be your debriefing meaningful learning, your plus delta for real. I do remember plus delta, your advocacy inquiry, which is embedded into your pearls. Pearls is another good one as well. So remember, just really understanding your plus delta, your debriefing for meaningful learning, your debriefing for meaningful learning, your good judgment, and how advocacy inquiries answered. Those are the type of things you would want to be able to pull out when you see a question on your CHSE. If they put a question there or an answer, how would you respond? What would be the best type of debriefing framework to use for a novice simulation educator? So just making sure you're able to attach that or pull it out when you see it in action on your CHSE exam. But I agree with you. This one is the number 12. I should have asked her about that when I saw her last Saturday or whatever day that was. I saw her, the author of the book. Number 12, the organization that maintains healthcare simulation standards of best practice is A, NLN, National League of Nursing, B, Society, SSH, C, a NASCO, or D, ASPE, Association of Standardized Patients. Exactly, B. It is your standards. I mean, your standards of best practice offering our certification is your SSH. Number 13, a simulation educator receives an accommodation letter from the university's disabilities office that states that the student has an accommodation, which is a special stethoscope for people with hearing impairments. The simulation educator should A, develop a scenario in which a stethoscope is not needed, B, assign the student to be an observer or participant, C, ask the student in pre-briefing if it works well for them, or D, allow the student to use the stethoscope. Correct, D. Allow that student to use that stethoscope. You do not want to single them out. If they have special accommodations, you let them use that, right? Because we have to honor that so that they too can still participate and achieve those same learning outcome. An amplified stethoscope is a reasonable accommodation, and the simulation educator should not interfere with the student using it or even bring attention to it. Developing a scenario in which a stethoscope is not needed is not necessary. The student should not be assigned another role since they are learners, and calling the student out in pre-briefing is inappropriate. So make sure we honor those accommodations. Number 14, the simulation educator needs to set up the laboratory for advanced healthcare learners to practice central line insertion. The best modality to practice this skill would be A, simulated patient or SPs, B, high fidelity mannequins, C, part task trainers, or D, virtual reality. Exactly. Why is C our best choice for practicing central line insertion? Why a part task trainer and not A, B, or D? Skill procedure. Yes.
Durable.
Yes, 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 yes. Exactly, exactly, exactly. Part task trainers is the best modality. Wait. Because it can elicit the skill. That's right. Psychomotor, skill, procedural, and it is durable. So students can practice over and over without the wear and tear of a more expensive mannequin, a high fidelity. Virtual reality does not provide hands-on experience, and simulated participants is not used for what? Invasive procedures. Now, if it's a hybrid sim, we could, but that's not what this says, so don't read into it. 15, a simulation educator is debriefing a group of junior learners and properly focuses the discussion by stating, I think the best start is to review the entire scenario. B, you work well as a team. C, let's take a vote to see what the best part of the experience was. Or D, we can discuss how we would do that the next time. We're on number 15. What's your answers for 15? Number 15. D, correct. Debriefing, a group of learners focus on discussing. We get ready to do our simulation. We definitely wouldn't say, I think the best start to review the entire. You worked well. So the purpose of debriefing is what? It's a reflective process, and you want the students to do what? Have an active participation in it. It's student focus, not faculty focus, not facilitator focus. So the purpose is the process of improvement. There's only a need to review important parts, not review what? The entire scenario. The learners should reflect on their team effort, and the best part of the experience may be different for different learners. Remember, debriefing is a reflective time for the students to reflect. We ask those Socratic questions depending on our debriefing model. I am concerned, or we could do advocacy inquiry, we could do our plus delta, but the goal is what? Reflective learning, reflective practices. Number 16, a simulation consultant was hired by a healthcare academic unit to assist with developing a sim program. The best advice would be A, scheduling simulation at specific times during each semester. B, having the students sign up on their own for simulation experiences. C, using simulation as a remediation tool to enhance understanding. Or D, integrating simulation throughout the curriculum. Correct. It's your best answer. Integrating simulation throughout the curriculum is effective to enhance what? Knowledge acquisition. It does not help it does not have to be a specific time, and all students should have the experience as a learning tool rather than just a what? Remediation methodology. It's used for more than that. Number 17, a novice simulation educator has a new video equipment capabilities and would like to use the video equipment. The seasoned simulation educator looks at the upcoming lab schedule and suggests A, interviewing a patient, SP, standardized patient. B, a mega code and advanced ACLS, advanced cardiac life support. C, medication administration, or D, intraosseous vascular insertion. Which one would be best for the novice? Exactly. A would be best for the novice. Doing the interview of the SP would be the best one for that novice. Interviewing the patient is an ideal situation for videotaping, and have the learner rewatch and reflect. Mega codes as such as an ACLS or medication administration or intraosseous vascular insertion concentrates on skills and actions that can be recorded by other methods. Interpersonal interactions are captured well on the video, hence interviewing that SP would provide that. Number 18, a simulation consultant is using Kern's method of curriculum integration and is therefore expected to begin the curriculum change by doing what? A, performing a needs assessment. B, undertaking a learner assessment. C, choosing the appropriate environment. Or D, establishing learning learning objectives. A is correct. First, you need to do what? Perform your needs assessment. Going right back to our NASCO standards. The needs assessment is the first step to identify if the change is needed and the gaps in the curriculum that must be addressed. Remember, you start off with your needs assessment. Okay? Number 19, the novice simulation educator needs additional understanding when they state the following is a protection of students' ethical, legal, and regulatory rights in a simulation lab. A, having codes of conduct accessible to students. B, maintaining fair evaluation processes through the learning activities. C, implied consent to record when tapes will be destroyed and after debriefing. Or D, consent for picture taken for any use. Correct. A, B, and C are true, but C is not the right thing to do. C is not the right thing to do. Even if a tape is going to be destroyed, there should be permission before it is taped. Okay, not implied consent. And number 20, and make sure you have what? Some policies in place too when we're talking about recording, okay? Having codes of conduct accessible to students, maintaining fair evaluation processes throughout the learning activities, and consent for picture taken for any use are correct to do, okay? And our last and final one for tonight. Which assessment method should the simulation educator use to measure competency attainment? A, validated checklist. B, multiple choice tests. C, peer critiques. Or D, focus groups. A. I love it. I love it. A is the correct answer. Checklist is a checklist that is validated, right? Valid and reliable is a good objective method to measure competency, especially skills, right? Multiple choice testing is better suited to do what? Cognitive evaluation. Peer critique is good for feedback, but the learners are not experts. And focus groups is good for understanding perceptions. My friends, what a wonderful session. We're at 8:31. If you could just give me one more minute, I just want to give you a big thank you. And I have it on the screen here. I hope your time, Artie, you so sweet. I hope your time with me this 6 weeks has been very valuable for you. I will miss you. I get very connected to my students or our colleagues, I must say, because we are peers. We are colleagues as we continue to grow and become the best simulation educators that we can be. And I have no doubt that you will be successful. I want to let you know you have open access to all of the resources, even after today. And you can always email me as well and reach out to me and let me know if I could be of any assistance to you on your journey to going to take your CHSE. Please don't wait too long. Let me know. Keep in contact with me and let me know if, thank you so much, Laurencia. Let me know if there's anything I could do. I want to hear about your success. And even after you pass the CHSE, please continue to reach out because I would love to continue to grow and learn with you. Hope I'll get to see you at some of the simulation conferences, a NASCO, IMSH, ASPE has a conference, SimGoes. I just hope that we will be able to meet and continue to grow as colleagues and educators in the area of simulation education. Do you have any questions? I welcome your feedback. Please email me You are so well. You are so welcome, Artie. It was such a pleasure to meet both of you. So, and everyone else who was on in our cohort this time. So please email me. Don't forget to complete your survey. It's very critical. It helps us continue to improve. And send me any feedback that you think can also be helpful for me as well. I wish you nothing but success. And thank you for the extra 3 minutes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Okay.